Picture this, a seemingly ordinary man, walking the same London streets as millions, hiding a twisted secret behind closed doors. But what detectives would later find inside his apartment was beyond anyone's darkest nightmares. Today, we delve into the chilling story of Anthony John Hardy, the Camden Ripper. How did he evade suspicion for so long, and what horrifying truths lay hidden in plain sight? Stay with us. This is one case you won't soon forget. Anthony John Hardy was a notorious English serial killer, infamously known as the Camden Ripper. His grisly crimes involved the dismemberment of several victims, a horror that shocked even the most experienced investigators. In November 2003, Hardy received 3 life sentences for 3 murders. However, authorities suspect his true death toll may be as high as 9. Anthony John Hardy was born in Burton-upon-Trent, Staffordshire, and from the outside, his life initially seemed quite ordinary. A high achiever in both school and college, Hardy went on to earn an engineering degree from Imperial College London, later rising to a managerial position at a major company. He married, had 3 sons and a daughter, and seemed to embody professional and personal success. But beneath this veneer, darkness simmered. In 1982, Hardy was arrested in Tasmania after allegedly attempting to drown his wife, a charge that was later dropped. By 1986, his marriage ended in divorce, and this marked a sharp decline in Hardy's life. Following the divorce, he spent significant time in mental health facilities and was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Hardy's mental health spiraled, resulting in multiple admissions to psychiatric hospitals across London for depression, drug-induced psychosis, and severe alcohol abuse. He drifted between various hostels in the city, accruing convictions for theft and public drunkenness. In 1998, Hardy was arrested on suspicion of raping a sex worker, but due to insufficient evidence, the charges were dropped. Over time, he sank into alcoholism and developed diabetes, casting aside the remnants of his once promising life. In January 2002, police responded to a complaint from a neighbor in Hardy's apartment building who reported that her front door had been vandalized and suspected Hardy was behind it. Upon investigating Hardy's flat, officers noticed a locked door. Although Hardy initially claimed he had no access, they found that he did indeed have a key. Behind that door, they uncovered a chilling scene: the naked body of 38-year-old Sally White, a local sex worker, lying lifeless on the bed with visible bruises and head injuries. White's tragic death raised immediate suspicions. However, forensic pathologist Freddie Patel ruled her death as a heart attack, despite the disturbing circumstances. This decision would later be called into question, as Patel faced scrutiny for multiple controversial findings in his career, including his assessment in the high-profile 2009 death of Ian Tomlinson. His work ultimately led to a suspension from the government's Register of Pathologists, and in 2012, he was formally struck off the medical register by the General Medical Council, banning him from practicing medicine in the UK. As for Hardy, he denied any knowledge of White's presence in his flat, blaming his drinking problem for his lack of recollection. He pleaded guilty to the charge of criminal damage for the vandalism. While in custody, he was transferred to a psychiatric hospital under Section 37 of the Mental Health Act 1983, where he remained until November 2002. On the 30th of December 2002, a shocking discovery was made by a homeless man rummaging through trash bins: dismembered body parts of 2 women concealed in black plastic bin liners. The victims were later identified as 34-year-old Bridget McLennan and 29-year-old Elizabeth Valid. This gruesome find led investigators back to Anthony John Hardy, who had evaded capture by going on the run. His attempt to remain undetected ended when an off-duty police officer spotted him at University College Hospital, where he'd come to collect his insulin prescription. Hardy tried to hide, but was soon located behind bins outside the hospital. In a struggle during his arrest, one officer was stabbed through the hand and suffered a dislocated eye, while another was knocked unconscious. Despite these serious injuries, the wounded officer managed to restrain Hardy until backup arrived, securing his capture. A subsequent search of Hardy's flat unveiled further damning evidence, including old bloodstains, indicating the two women had been killed and dismembered there. Both murders had taken place over the Christmas holidays. During interrogation, Hardy maintained a stone-cold, no-comment response to every question. He was charged with the murders of McLennan and Valad, and also with the murder of Sally White, whose death had previously been classified as natural causes. However, at his trial in November 2003, Hardy stunned everyone by changing his plea to guilty on all 3 counts of murder, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Given Hardy's troubling history of psychiatric issues and violent tendencies, an independent inquiry was launched to investigate the handling of his mental health care. Diagnosed with a personality disorder, Hardy was deemed a continuing threat. In May 2010, a high court judge ruled that he should never be released, placing him on the list of prisoners serving a whole life tariff. Mr. Justice Keith stated, "This is one of those exceptionally rare cases in which life should mean life." On the 25th of November 2020, Anthony John Hardy, the notorious Camden Ripper, died at the age of 69 in HM Prison Franklin, located in County Durham. His cause of death was reported as pneumonia, an illness that can be particularly aggressive among inmates due to the close living quarters and limited access to advanced medical care. Hardy's death marked the end of a life that had descended into infamy and left a chilling legacy within the annals of British crime. HM Prison Franklin, a high-security facility, housed some of the most dangerous criminals in the UK, including Hardy, who had been there for nearly 2 decades following his conviction in 2003. Over the years, Hardy had reportedly struggled with several health issues, exacerbated by his pre-existing conditions, including diabetes and his long history of alcohol abuse. To the public, his passing was a grim reminder of his horrific crimes that had terrorized London nearly 2 decades earlier. The news of Hardy's death brought closure to some, while others were left reflecting on the brutality of his actions and the system's failure to intervene earlier in his downward spiral. Yet, even as he took his last breath, the dark details of his crimes continued to haunt the memories of those who had followed his case. Initially, police suspected that Anthony John Hardy might be connected to other unsolved murders, specifically those of 2 sex workers whose dismembered bodies had been discovered in the River Thames. Investigators believed Hardy's methods bore eerie similarities to these cases, as well as up to 5 or 6 other murders, sparking speculation that he could have been responsible for far more deaths than those for which he was convicted. Unfortunately, without solid evidence directly tying him to these cases, authorities were unable to pursue charges. One of the murders initially linked to Hardy was that of Paula Fields, a London sex worker whose body was found dismembered in the Thames in 2001. For years, her brutal death remained a cold case, with Hardy as a prime suspect. However, in a surprising turn, the case was finally solved in 2011, when another man, John Sweeney, was convicted of her murder. This revelation shifted some focus from Hardy, but questions lingered about his potential involvement in other unsolved murders from that time. Despite the absence of concrete links, his chilling legacy endures, casting shadows over numerous cold cases that remain unresolved to this day. 2 murders linked to Anthony John Hardy took place in Nottinghamshire, close to his hometown of Burton-on-Trent. In 2013, criminologist David Wilson explored Hardy's connections to these crimes in a documentary for his series Killers Behind Bars: The Untold Story. In this investigation, he examined claims that Hardy might also be linked to the murders of London sex workers Sharon Hoare in Fulham in 1991 and Christine McGovern in Walthamstow in 1995. Further investigation into Hardy's potential victims continued in 2021 when police looked into the case of Fred the Head, an unidentified body discovered in Burton-upon-Trent in 1971. This theory emerged from discussions in a Facebook group dedicated to identifying the decedent, suggesting that Hardy might have been involved in this long unsolved case. As we conclude our chilling exploration of Anthony John Hardy, the so-called Camden Ripper, we're left with lingering questions that may never be fully answered. His horrific crimes shattered the lives of many and sent shockwaves through communities already grappling with the dangers faced by vulnerable individuals. While Hardy's life ended in prison, the specter of his actions continues to haunt not only the families of his victims, but also the many unsolved cases that remain tied to his name. In the years since his conviction, Hardy has become a symbol of the darker side of society, where mental health issues, substance abuse, and violence converge tragically. The investigations into his connections with other unsolved murders remind us that the pursuit of justice is ongoing, and each victim deserves to have their story told. Though Hardy is no longer here to answer for his crimes, the echoes of his legacy remind us of the importance of vigilance, compassion, and the need to support those in vulnerable positions. As we remember the lives lost to his brutality, let us commit to ensuring that their stories are not forgotten and that we continue to seek justice for all victims of violence. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into the mind of a killer. Until next time, stay safe and vigilant. Make sure to like and subscribe my channel for such more videos. Also visit my channel if you like true crimes. Thank you and goodbye.